Want a virtual studio but you're young and broke? Or just broke? I'll show you how I created this, and this one in just a few minutes. I've done extensive research, and to date, I've found only 3 ways to get a realistic, customized virtual studio. By the way, the third method is new, and this is the first YouTube video to use it. However, it might not be the best method for your needs, so I suggest you also watch and consider the other 2. Method A, the most common method so far. Use a green screen and search for a stock image as close as possible to what you have in mind. Then, struggle to match framing, perspective, lighting, color, focal length, shadow, only to ultimately fail, because we are not Hollywood professional, and let's not forget, we are broke as Method B. Here we start leveraging AI. Crop just enough of your video to ensure your limbs won't exit the frame during movements. Then simply generate the rest of the image using Photoshop Generative Fill, thereby controlling the background of this area. In my opinion, this method has several issues. I'll tell you some of them. For starter, you need to choose a very neutral, clean background immediately behind you, because Photoshop isn't great at extending object cutting out. Thus, if you pick a completely empty center background, you will have to generate the rest of the image with very few elements. Otherwise, you'll create a visually unbalanced, strange effect, unless you're exceptionally skilled at rationally justifying this imbalance from a compositional standpoint. Also, what if your home walls look bad? The immediate background behind you cannot be easily changed, and buying nicer panel can get quite expensive. Finally, what if light conditions change? Then the difference between your cropped video and the static image around it become obvious, completely breaking the illusion. So this method works best if your camera is frontal and you have a completely empty and aesthetically pleasing space behind you, ideally including small decor elements fully contained within the frame, matching the aesthetic of the extended Photoshop area. However, I don't have this condition, so I discarded this method. Method C. This method involves a green screen and a fixed camera position, but the background image is entirely AI generated. In my opinion, it combines the best aspect of the previous 2 methods. It allows completely isolating the subject from the environment you're filming in, adapting the environment to the existing lighting condition and framing on the subject, thus saving you money and time. Let's see how to do it. First, record the video with the framing and lighting you prefer, but without the green screen behind you. Then, extract a still frame from this video. Now, let's analyze it together. Okay, so now we are at the computer, and I'll show you the best workflow that I found to generate a virtual background. So by this time, you should have your image of your real background with the right light and the right perspective, and you're not gonna change that anymore. So what I did, to give you a real example, I took this image of a fellow YouTuber, Amanda Horvath. You can check her out. The link of her YouTube channel is in the description. And I removed her, and I also removed the lights, so I too could have a very clear background with the light and the perspective that I intend to have. Okay, so now that we are on the same page with your clean space and background that you'll have, you can analyze a few things. First thing, you can analyze where the light is coming from, and how it bounces on the wall, and what type of light do you have in your room. In this case, the light is I would say quite diffuse, so you'll see that we have big windows on the left, and from this window there's a good amount of light that comes in the room, but it's not very direct light. You see that she put the curtain there, and that's a very good idea, because it scatters the light in the room, and it produces a very diffuse sort of lighting. So that's what you want to have in your video. And also we can see that we have another window in the back of the room. This also projects some lights on the back of the subject. These are all things to communicate to the program that will generate the image for us. But there's a more easier and faster way to do it, which is to upload this image to ChatGPT, and you'll tell him that you want to analyze the image, and he will tell you what we just said, which is the where the light is coming from, and which kind of perspective do you have. And also, this is important because ChatGPT kind of verbalize what we have going on in the image, and he remembers that for the image generation. So how do we want to transform this space? I'm gonna take a reference image, and you can do that by going on Pinterest and a bunch of few sites that I'll link in the description below. So for today, you can see that I found some reference picture of a nice Scandinavian style studio, and I'm going to now upload it to ChatGPT and ask him to describe the room. This is for 2 reasons. First is to actually have the name of the style, which you can see it's not really how I thought. I thought that this was Scandinavian. Instead is Japanese style. So it's important to know the name of the style that you're going after, because when you're going to write the prompt to generate your actual virtual background, you want to obtain exactly the things that you saw in the reference picture, and that's why the name is important. When you're going to ask to generate the picture, he has all the kind of internal knowledge that he needs to generate a good picture. Then I asked him to generate a prompt for me to use inside Photoshop, because I first want to show you how Photoshop is working on generate the kind of results that we want. Spoiler, it's not good. So anyway, we get our prompt with a very descriptive text to input into Photoshop. And now we're going to see actually if Photoshop is able to take into account how the previous image was structured light-wise and perspective-wise. As you can see, I left visible the layer that contains our real background, and that's because the Photoshop is supposed to use it to generate the new image. But you can see that this is absolute garbage. The light is coming from the wrong side. The perspective doesn't absolutely match, and you can see also a lot of fake things that pop to your eyes and a lot of artifacts. So this is not working for what we want to obtain. Photoshop in field, it's generally very good to expand the edges of your picture. So if you want to make your picture bigger, it's very good. And also it's very good to correct small details in the image. You want to remove an object, that is what we actually are going to use for, and that's very good. But you can see, yeah, this is not the way to go. So let's try another things. And by the way, you can make kind of a quick check to see if you're near the final image that you want, or you're still far off, as in this case. You can put your shadow subject in the image and also see if it blends in or not. And you can see that in this case, everything is wrong. Let's move on to another method. Next, I tried the ChatGPT 4.0 new generation model that it's gotten a whole lot better recently. And you can see I uploaded a picture of the original background, you can see. And I told them, okay, before we move on, it's very important that you keep the same light and the same perspective as in this image. He asked me some follow-up details about the picture, and then off he went. And would you look at that? That's pretty nice, especially comparing it to Photoshop. The only problem about the ChatGPT is that for some reason, he can't generate aspect ratios of 16:9. And we're just going to use the generative fill in Photoshop to expand the edge of the image. Something that we can do inside ChatGPT, and it's going to make things easier for later, is to generate the image in the widescreen aspect ratio. And it's not quite like 16:9, but it's closer, so it's going to be easier later. For some reason, it can take a few tries. It's not very responsive to that. I don't know why. Finally, we have it, and you see, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. It's it has a diffuse lighting, and it has the right perspective. Another little downside is that you can see that this image, it's not necessarily completely photorealistic in the sense that it doesn't have a texture that really pops up and many details. But I'm sure in the future and very soon, this model will become even greater, even better. One thing though that I feel like it's not gonna change for quite a long time is that you can't expect to have everything as you wanted, exactly the way you want it. So you will have to leave a little wiggle room to this tool. Just know it beforehand. Okay. Now I went back to Photoshop, and you can see that I'm extending the edge of the picture to obtain the right aspect ratio, which is 16:9. And you can see why we wanted to obtain the largest image possible from ChatGPT out of the box, because you see that Photoshop, well, still being very good to using the same light and the same perspective as the rest of the image, it's gonna screw off some elements. So you can see that here we have a plant that it's a little strange. You can tell more than everything else in the picture that it's AI generated, and also kind of a weird lines in the ceiling. So there are some elements that throw you off. Okay, now let's make a quick check and drag into the image the subject with the original light and perspective. And you can see right off the gate, it's not bad. I'm pretty pleased with that. Also keep in mind that you can see here I'm adjusting the exposure inside of Photoshop of the background image. So that is going to be another things that you can do to fine-tune the image. Now there's another tool that, at least in theory, has the possibility to give it a picture which has the information about the structure of the space, and another picture that has the information of the styling that you want to see in your generation. and that's Adobe Firefly. So I tried that, and I gave it actually the image that ChatGPT generated as the structure of the space reference, because that was really good and very similar to the our original background. And you can see that did a pretty good job if you're going to consider the perspective. But there's a problem with lighting. It gives you very direct light, even if we explicitly told him not to. So you can see that our subject doesn't really blend with the background. For this reason, I think the Firefly is not the best tool in this scenario, just because you see it's not very flexible. It's not very, you cannot adjust many things after the fact. So let's move on, and I have another method for you actually. This method combines Photoshop and ChatGPT or Firefly, depending on what you prefer. You can even use all three together. There's a way to do that. Might drive you a little bit crazy, but I'm here to show you what I've done, so you can judge by yourself. So how does this method work actually? This method allows you to build piece by piece your background image by extracting your precise perspective from your real background and then applying to your virtual background, and then use it like a backbone for your generation of the images. So the first step is I used Photoshop, but you can use really whatever drawing apps that you want. Or you can also just simply put a sheet of paper on your screen and then draw over the image and follow the lines, which I'll tell you in a little bit how to do. So it's really simple. It's just a little bit tedious to do, but you can do it in 10 minutes. So to extract the perspective from your photo, you need to do a couple of things. You need to analyze the photo, and then you can use really all the line that you see that your brains tell you should be straight, should be square with each other. So what I found here in this image specifically was the edges of the walls of the room, and you can have 1 point perspective, which means that all the lines that you identify are meeting at 1 point only. Or you can have a 2 point perspective, like in this specific case, or you can have up to 5 point perspective. Usually, the perspective that you'll find in a photo of a room are 2 or at the most 3 point perspective. That's just simply because how the style of the photo is structured. So they tend to have all like the same height and which they are taken and have the same style. But anyway, now it's a good time to understand what is the three-dimensional space made of. So you can see here I have a picture of a cube, and you can think of the cube as your room, right? This cube, it has 3 axes, which is X, Y, and Z. And these 3 axes together make all the three-dimensional space, right? And for the scope of this video, that's all you need to know. So I'll start to trace line on the edges of the walls of the room. The whole scope of those lines is to detect the vanishing point of the perspective. The vanishing points are points from where all the lines that you can see in the picture come from. In this case, we have a 2 point perspective, so we have 2 vanishing points. And right now, our goal is to trace those lines and extend them till they meet. So you can see I drawn lines that matches the edge of the wall on the back of the room, and those we're going to call it X lines, like you see on the example, because they are going to meet on the left. Okay, so then we are going to extend the lines, and they're going to meet on the left vanishing point. So the line that you see behind the couch and on the curtain, those are going to be the Z line for this example. Okay, and they're going to meet actually on the right, so on the right vanishing point. As for the vertical lines that you see like sort of behind the lamp, that is going to be our Y line, and we can say for simplicity's sake that's completely vertical, so we don't need to do anything with that at this moment. So we're going to make the Z line meet and also the X line meet. Where the line meets, we've found the vanishing point. So once we found the vanishing point, we are going to use them to generate lines from them. So originating from that vanishing point and spreading them out like the rays of the sun, so to speak. And when you do that for both the vanishing point, you get a grid. And when you have the grid, you can use that to draw new elements in the picture with the scientifically right perspective. So don't worry, you don't need to know how to draw, be good at drawing. I'm not. We're just making really simple things here. So all we're going to do for this example is expand the room, right? So I don't like the wall that we see on the left. that makes the room quite small. And because we have a green screen, we can do whatever we want, let the imagination fly. So we're going to expand this room in our virtual studio, and we're gonna make it look a lot bigger than it is. To do that, I've expanded the X line to the right, and then I've used the right vanishing point to trace lines from the center outwards. And you see the point where the X line and the Z line are meeting. That's our new edges of the room, right? Okay, so you can see how I use that to create a completely new right wall for our rooms. And right now you can see, just by the perspective and these few lines that I draw, that you can really imagine the room way bigger, and it looks accurate by looking at that. Even it's just few lines. So now I already tried to use those few lines and upload them into ChatGPT or Adobe Firefly, and try to use them as the composition guide. But Adobe Firefly is actually very confused about it, so that's not working. We need more details, and we're going to generate them inside Photoshop. So you can see that I made a selection, exactly the dimension of the left wall, and I told Photoshop, okay, make a wall of a studio in such and such style. Okay, you don't have to get really complicated with the prompt on this one. It's just to generate more details so that the other tools know what to grip on to generate the image and can start to understand what you actually want. So I'll choose whatever I think suits best in this case. I'll repeat the same things just for the other walls of the room, the ceiling and the floor, and then you have it. It's just like a sketch-like image of your space that has all the details that the other tool needs. For the sake of it, I also created a vase and some desk to further improve the details and explain a little better the generative tools, how I intended the space. And from there, you can continue to use the generative field of Photoshop to kind of create a detailed mockup of how do you actually intend the space. So the more detail you put in, the more you will have control over what the other generative tool will do once you generate the actual image of the space. Let's try again Firefly. So you can see that Firefly is picking up really good, actually, the perspective and the composition. Not in every iteration of the generation, but generally it's pretty good. Things that's not really still not really working is the lighting. You'll see that's just not a light that will blend in with the real light coming from the real subject. I actually asked him several times and in different ways to create and generate a light that is very soft and diffuse throughout all the room and the picture, but he would just refuse to do so. He wouldn't listen to me. So, okay, all right. Maybe in the future will change. Now let's move on to see what ChatGPT is creating. So you can see that ChatGPT is probably still the way to go right now, because he generated a good perspective, matching perspective, and also a very diffuse light, and you see our subject blends in actually. Then it's just a matter of fine-tuning the image, and you can use this workflow and do some iteration of that to fine-tune all the details. Now you can actually go back to Photoshop and use the generative fill tool to create all the details that you want and make all the small corrections. So this is the workflow that I found to be more effective right now. And you can see that's far from a breeze. So this whole experiment was me just really stubborn and try to find a way to generate a virtual studio that was really of my likings and also match the weird perspective angle of the camera that I have. And also the real edge actually right now, after all this kind of long method, is that say you want to change your virtual studio because you change the subject of what you're talking about. But then it's become really easy to tell ChatGPT, okay, let's say I have this space, but I'm a movie enthusiast now, and I want you to restyle all the room and fill it with detail according to that. And you see, it's very easy from there. So it's very hard to get your base image. But then after that, it really takes you a second to restyle the room and change that. So I think that is really an advantage for someone that makes content creation. All right, so tell me what you think. Do you have any better workflow, or maybe you know something that I don't, or do you have any advice in general? Write me in the comment. I will check each and every of them. I'm also experimenting with the integration of moving objects inside the virtual studio to make it even more realistic. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'll do a video about it. Till then, bye.